Film with family. They love the family, they love the movies.
Hello and welcome to Film with Family. My name is Zach.
And I'm Austin.
And we are two cousins who like to talk about movies. And today we're talking about the new movie by George Miller, Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga.
There's a colon in there.
Yeah, I didn't feel like saying the colon, but it's in there. And to talk about it...
Respect the colon.
And to talk about it, we got my sister, Jasmine Zweifler. Welcome back to the podcast for the third time.
It's me, your official correspondent for new releases where cars drive really fast at a certain point.
So true.
Sometimes just for a little bit, like the one scene in Killers of the Flower Moon. Sometimes for the whole movie. But if there's not cars driving fast for at least one scene, I'm not talking about it.
You're out. You did talk about Mission Impossible as well, which also had some chase scenes going on in that. So
it goes without saying.
I mean, are you actually into like action movies like this, or is it just like by some fluke?
I am so into them.
This is perfect then.
Yes.
Whether I'm at home, whether I'm going to the theater, that's absolutely the kind of movie that I want to see anytime, day or night. I want some action. I want to see Mission Impossible, Jack Reacher, Fast and Furious.
Nice.
I want something with some razzle dazzle.
Yes. But do you like prequels? Because this film is a prequel. Where do you land on prequels?
I am going to say that I really like the idea of prequels, but I feel like I'm generally not a big fan of how they're executed, I guess I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
It's tough.
I'm not opposed to them conceptually at all. Like, I think it's cool. I think it's fun. I like to see where shit came from and make connections. Be like, oh my God, that's how he got his name or whatever. But they're real hard to do. Really, really hard to do.
Wonka is kind of a prequel. We all love Wonka.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Okay.
Now we're getting somewhere. So
now we're talking.
I don't think that we talked about our amazing Wonka experience at length.
On Christmas Day.
It
was a gift to us all.
Post dinner, we were a little lit. We had a little booze in us. Yeah, we had some booze in us. We smoked a little bit. And we were like, let's go see this Wonka thing that we think will probably be bad.
Mm-hmm.
My expectations were absolutely in the gutter. Could not have been lower. I'm not even that big of a fan of the original. I'm going to be real. So I don't even have that to like get me revved up, that I'm going into it. I'm like, this looks like a movie for children. No, thank you.
Yeah. You had no silver sovereigns in your pocket.
Zero.
And we walked in there and it got going and I had a smile on my face from minute one.
Yeah.
We were
You're
smiling,
definitely the most
we were
into
laughing.
It.
Yeah.
We were hooting and hollering. We couldn't believe what was on the screen.
You couldn't believe how fat Michael Key got.
Yeah.
Stop getting fatter.
That was probably the highlight of my movie going experience in 2023 was seeing that movie with all of you guys and then seeing Keegan-Michael Key walking out of that car, enormous, and Zach leaning over and going, "It's the whale." It was like
almost fell out of your seat.
I died laughing to the point where Drew's like, "You're being disruptive." I'm like,
You think I said it? I thought you said it. I can't remember.
No, you said it. I will never forget that.
Okay. For some reason, I thought maybe you told me that.
That is imprinted in my mind.
And I told you guys after the fact, I kept thinking about it. kept thinking about it and enjoying thinking about it, thinking about the songs. I was like, it wasn't just we were caught up in the moment. That movie was holding on.
Yeah.
And it gave us something that we all didn't know that we needed that night. That's all I can really say to express what it did.
But the real question is Furiosa as good as Wonka?
That's a deep question. Yeah, that's it's like apples and oranges. It's like peaches and chocolate, really.
Guys,
I have one more Wonka thing to say. I'm sorry.
Okay.
A few weeks ago, this is about 6 months after we've seen the movie, I go into an AMC and I see that they're still selling. There is one bag remaining of the Wonka branded gummies that they put out for AMC. And I've been seeing them around for a while. And I was like, all right, this has got to literally be the last bag. And I bought it.
What was the flavor?
There were multiple flavors. I want to say it was like a grape and a strawberry, but there were little hats. There were little Wonka hats.
Of course.
And I got to say they were okay. I think time had, I don't think they were meant to be on a shelf longer than 6 months because they were like, were like stale gummies. They felt like they were like a little above the threshold of like the chew factor that you want in a gummy. So,
yeah,
but they did the trick.
Confession time. I love stale gummies. I would have loved those.
Well, if you come across a pack of them, that might hit the sweet spot for you. It was a good one. It was fun. I mean, they say on the bag turns your tongue blue, and I shared them with a couple of my friends. None of us had blue tongues afterwards, so that was also a disappointment. Gummies, not as good as the movie. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
We can put that one to bed.
But I like that you checked them out as a completionist of the Wonka experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah, we all like Wonka. We had a great time.
On the record.
But guys, I'm just dying to know how you guys felt about this movie. Zach and I were extremely careful not to say one thing about it after seeing the movie together. And I know Zach got to see your review on Letterboxd, Austin, which is not a social media platform that I'm on. So I have no idea what you thought. So you guys got little sneaky peeks of each other's feelings. Nobody knows mine, and I don't know yours. So
Jasmine's been really good about the save it for the pod rule.
Amazing.
I was willing to talk about some aspects of it, but she was like, no, we can't say anything about it. And we
you wanted to mention something about the viewing experience, which we'll get into, I'm sure.
Okay, well, I guess just if you just want to know overarching broadly, I loved it. I thought it was great in the lineup of all the Mad Max films, which I reviewed all of them, or I went back and watched all of the Mad Max movies before Furiosa, and I would say Furiosa is my second favorite in the whole series.
Yeah.
After Fury Road, I assume.
Yeah. And even well, we'll get into this, but the comparisons that everyone is inevitably making between Fury Road and Furiosa, I think are unfair.
Well, I'm kind of curious about your Mad Max ranking. Do you have what's your full ranking?
All right. Fury Road, number 1, Furiosa, number 2, Road Warrior, number 3, Thunderdome, 4, and then the original is 5.
Yeah.
I like them all. I just think that Drew and I watched the first Mad Max and we were just like, this is like too low budget.
Very.
To even like compare it to any of the other ones. Even Road Warrior, they turned up the production value so much more in Road Warrior compared to Mad Max. But obviously the original Mad Max is kind of, again, like its own thing. It's like a pure 70s exploitation film made with a shoestring budget.
The debut of Mel Gibson
and George Miller. George Miller, being like a former doctor who saw a lot of road rash and was like, I'm gonna make a movie about this.
Isn't the audio and dialogue just distractingly incomprehensible in that first movie, though?
Yeah.
Damn, you can't understand not one word anybody is saying.
Even
I'm
if you
like,
got the
this is
captions on, it
crazy.
doesn't work.
I don't even know what the captions would even say. I don't know what they would say. It would look like wingdings.
Yeah. Wingdings, blurry.
Yeah.
You gotta admit, Toe Cutter is an awesome name, though.
Yes, Toe Cutter's
good.
Sick name. And that actor, same actor who played Immortan Joe in Fury Road, which I just realized.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Oh,
Rest
he's
in
dead
peace,
now?
dude.
Yeah.
Died in 2020. He was amazing. One of the best.
People are saying that there's no relation between Toe Cutter and Immortan Joe in the mythology of Mad Max, but you go back and watch that Mad Max, he's got like, the little streak of white hair where it's like, oh, it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
that those big, long, luscious blonde locks are on their way, but no, it's not true.
Yeah. Pursuant to what you were saying before, like I really was having the doing the mental exercise of like, what if we talked about this movie and thought about it entirely without referencing Fury Road or thinking about, I'm like, how impossible that is to do. I was like breaking my brain trying to like, because in thinking about this movie, I was doing so much comparison. And I'm like, yeah, what would it be if we didn't do that?
That'd be tough.
It is tough, but I feel like this franchise in particular does a really good job of containing each of its films. Like any Mad Max movie you could just jump into and just enjoy it on its own terms. Like you don't need to know too much of the backstory.
Yeah, each one is like a reset. It feels like a different world.
I mean, it's like, same universe, different world. I mean, I hadn't seen any Mad Maxes going into Fury Road and enjoyed the hell out of it. Like, I'm like, I don't care where they're going or why this happened. It's just like you're just on the ride and just dropped into the deep end of this world.
Yeah, and you saw it in theaters when it came out, Fury Road, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, as did I.
As did I.
What was your reaction walking out of the theater seeing Fury Road?
I was levitating. I couldn't believe what I had seen. I was in love, like completely mind blown.
Yeah.
Just ready to see it again immediately.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to go on this ride again.
Yeah.
Like it really was one of the most, I really do think one of the most exciting and fun theater going experiences I've ever had.
Yep.
Ever.
Zach, what about you? What was your first Fury Road experience like?
Yeah, I can't remember it super well. I don't remember who I saw it with or what the deal was, but yeah, I was definitely like, holy shit. Probably the best action movie I've ever seen in a theater. I don't know what would even come close to it.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Like truly nothing.
Well,
I mean, I had this discussion with my friend. I saw it recently for a second time in LA at the Chinese theater, which was beautiful. And we walked out and just talking about Fury Road, and I was just like, this is easily the best action film of this century so far. And we were trying to think of a better movie and just nothing. Like we were thinking maybe Fast Five, but that's really just like the final set piece.
Yeah.
Of them pulling the vault through the streets. Like, but other than that, I mean, it's just like nothing even comes to mind.
Yeah, it's kind of untouchable.
I mean, well, we talked about Drunken Master 2, but that's like a totally different thing. But yeah, I love that as an action movie.
But would you say it's better than Fury Road?
Yeah.
You would?
I would.
Wow.
I would.
Really?
I don't know. Well, I do have one critique of Fury Road, which
oh, please.
and it does sound a little petty, but I think it bothered me both. I've only seen it twice, which is a mistake. I should probably have seen it 5 times, but yeah, I just really don't like the Nux character, Nux or whatever, played by Nicholas Holt. I find him to be an annoying character, annoying performance, and he detracts from the experience for me enough that like it like puts a blemish on the movie. And
Okay.
if it was one thing, if it was just like he just like was just at the beginning of the movie and gets killed off in like the first set piece or whatever, but he just keeps popping back up, and I don't know, it definitely drags the movie down a little bit for me, just because I really don't really like the character. I feel like he's trying to be like a comedic relief character or something, but I don't find him funny. And that's my big critique of Fury Road. Otherwise, it's flawless.
Flawless.
I think that's fair.
That's fair. I don't love that character. I mean, I understand the point of that character, but yeah, I hear you. I mean, what did you think of Furiosa? Austin's high on it. Austin really loves it. What do you think, Zach?
Well, I think I've seen it twice now. The first time I saw it with you and our father,
who art in heaven.
Who art in heaven.
Who you'll recall from the Rockers episode from Film with Family. And we saw it together, and we saw it in D-Box. And I mean, we'll talk about the D-Box.
We got some things.
Yeah. Well, did you like it, Zach?
I liked it the first time, and the second time I liked it more. But I wouldn't say it still doesn't reach the heights of Fury Road, which I feel like that's how most people feel. But it's a great movie, is how I feel about Furiosa. And the first time I saw it, I was like, this is a good movie. And then the second time I was like, oh, this is great, actually. I appreciated it more on a rewatch. And I feel like a part of it was the D-Box was holding me back, because I noticed this. I don't know if Jasmine noticed this, but our D-Box was on like a lag where like it would like hit you like 3 or 4 seconds after it's supposed to. And it was distracting me.
Can you imagine that, Austin?
I can, and that's why I've sworn off these fucking experiential theaters.
For a movie like this, Austin, come on.
No.
For a movie like this, can't you see how it would take it to another level?
Like this. We talked about this a year ago. I'm never going back.
There was an interesting thing they did with this D-Box, though, is that like the first like third of this movie, this is not Anya Taylor-Joy, but this other actress playing this child version of Furiosa. And during that whole section, the D-Box is barely functioning. Did you notice that, Jasmine? It just feels like you're just getting little pulses. It's barely there.
Was that a malfunction? Because I swear to God, it was the D-Box not working. I do not think that that's how it was supposed to be.
I thought it was a creative choice, maybe because when it first came into gear was when you finally get Anya Taylor-Joy, and it's the oil rig sequence, and then it was like fucking rip roaring D-Box. And I actually loved it in that instance. It was like hard to tell if it was even on a delay at that point, because it's such an intense sequence. But I thought that was kind of cool, but it was also confusing too.
I think it was a mistake.
D-Box is a mistake,
but it felt like such a clear like change point. It's like, all right, now Anya Taylor-Joy in the movie. We're at the third chapter of the film, and now suddenly the D-Box is in full high gear. I thought it was like a choice.
I was on the same journey you were on, of trying to make logical sense out of what I'm pretty sure is the D-Box just not working for most of the movie.
That's a bummer.
That's a bummer.
But it is weird because like you would like feel it a little bit, but just barely. And I was like, me and Jasmine we're pushing like the intensity button, like, come on. We're trying to get it going.
Yeah,
it was distracting.
And I honestly, I need to try D-Box just to get the comparison, because it does seem like a chiller 40X. But one of these days we're gonna do it.
Yeah, they don't squirt you. They don't do smoke or anything. It's It's just chair movement, and you could also turn it off completely. But the tickets were so expensive, I felt like I have to keep it on, even though I know it's not working right. I want to.
Exactly.
It's like I've spent $22 on this ticket, so I'm gonna take it even if it's on a delay.
Take every buzz you can get. So you think that your opinion of the movie was tainted by the D-Box?
Yeah, definitely it didn't help. But I don't know, that oil rig or the war rig sequence was, I thought that was still really cool in D-Box, and I felt good then. It was like definitely working, but it was hard to tell if it was on a delay at that point just because that was such a constant stream of action. So for that one sequence, it was worth it, I would say. But the rest of the movie wasn't that good.
Gotcha.
What would you say, Jasmine?
So for me, this movie, I did not like it.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Like just in general, below average film, or in comparison, or like
both?
Okay. Explain.
I mean, golly, there's just so many things that I had quibbles with. I feel like it's better to go sequentially, but I guess my feeling is that this movie can, and it's so, like I said, it's so impossible to go in without these expectations just being sky high, but this movie felt small to me. Like
even though it's the longest Mad Max.
Well, I don't mean short. I mean small. Like in the scale, it was too small. The villains seemed too small. The stakes seemed smaller. The action seemed smaller. And and also like performance choices and stuff like that. Like it left me kind of cold. There were a couple of sequences that were cool, but in general, like I wouldn't watch it again. I'm not interested in watching it again.
Wow.
It let me down.
Damn. Do you think I really do think that, I mean, or do you think that that's because your expectations were too high, or
D-Box?
Is it D-Box? It's probably D-Box.
Can we blame the D-Box on this?
Okay, I'm going to tell you what is a really huge hurdle to overcome for this movie, which is I don't like movies with kids in lead roles. Like, I don't like kid actors. So a huge chunk of this movie, I was really just like out on, just because we're following a child.
Yeah, it's almost like a full first hour, it feels like. I mean, I didn't check my watch or anything, but yeah, before Anya comes
I want a grown-up movie about grown-ups. Like, I'm not ever interested in seeing a movie where it is mostly about like a child's story.
Yeah. Although I thought that she did a good job, that child actress, the Aaliyah Brown. I thought she was good and convincing as a young Furiosa.
Totally. Yeah.
But you're just like, I don't want to look at her. She can be good or bad. I don't want a kid in my damn movies.
Like, if you're a kid, your acting is always going to be childish, like you're portraying a child. So I'm just like, I'm not really into adult characters who have childish like acting choices or whatever, who play childlike adults. Like, that always sort of bugs me. Like Manic Pixie Dream Girl, where a lot of the characterizations are like childlike. For me, just like watching it, it just really rubs me the wrong way. I don't like it and I don't buy it.
Well, I would just say, I would argue the first chunk of the movie is like not even really about her. It's about Dementus, who is an adult. Dementus. Did you like Dementus?
I think I did. I think I did enjoy Dementus.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? What do you feeling? How did Chris Hemsworth do in this role for y'all?
I was into it.
I thought he stole the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that I was pretty blown away by his goofiness. I didn't realize Chris Hemsworth could be funny, and like he does like a lot of like kind of fun physical comedy in this that I was surprised by. I was not bothered by the nose. I thought that the nose was fine.
The nose plays.
Me too.
Nose plays.
Nose plays. Totally.
And I was yeah, I thought he was super charming, and also like you bought him as a villain. But he wasn't like too villainous. He was also kind of like a humble villain, which I liked. Like that one scene where they show up at Gastown and he's like, "Yeah, I fucked up." Like he's like, "None of these guys like me. I'd get the hell out of here if I was you." Like
I mean,
just funny.
I mean, like, but there are other villains in movies like this, and it's a really hard balance to strike of being like, I'm kind of like fun and kooky and silly, but also incredibly villainous and scary.
Mm-hmm.
And
Jason Momoa from Fast X comes to mind.
Yes, it does.
Good call.
Like
together.
you really do need to sell both, and I do think he is charming and he's having fun, and the nose plays. And there's lots of charisma, but like, is he ever scary in the way that he needs to be scary?
No, he's not. I mean, that's why it's kind of, it seems like he's like a dysfunctional leader leading a dysfunctional group that, you know, you kind of know from the outset, just because we know it's a prequel and we know that like Immortan Joe is just gonna rule the day no matter what. Like that time, that moment when they drive into the Citadel and he's like, "I'm gonna take over." It's like he does that fun like like where they all rev their engines at the same time or whatever.
That was cool.
Yeah, you just like kind of feel from the very beginning that he's like kind of like a wannabe dictator or something, you know, which I don't know. I just liked that as a characterization. But he does do something evil enough by killing Furiosa's mother that you're like, you're against him the entire time.
Yeah, I do feel like I kind of maybe liked him a little too much to like really like want to see his downfall, just because he was like he's funny and he's charming, he talks a lot, and he's got this kind of Jack Sparrow kind of swagger to him. It's like hard,
Yeah, right.
yeah, for like a revenge movie, which this movie is like kind of billing itself as like this revenge movie. It's kind of weird to like the villain so much, and like you really want to hate the villain in a revenge story, but like it's hard for me to really hate Dementus because he's so funny and kind of charismatic.
I think all the good villains are. Love me some Darth Vader. Love I was thinking like Bill from Kill Bill. Like you want to just, you don't want that guy to die. You want him to keep telling you stories about Batman.
Well, but think about someone like talking about a great action movie like Hans Gruber, you know, like Alan Rickman's portrayal of Hans Gruber, so charming, so magnetic, but
Also the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah, important to note, yes, selling the villainy and the wickedness so hard, not just in terms of like, well, he did this thing in terms of what happens in the movie, but you see it in everything this person is doing. They're showing you, and it's not just the movie telling you like, look, he did this, so obviously he's bad. Like it needs to come out of the character's pores in a way that Chris Hemsworth, it wasn't coming out of his pores. I was just getting the fun and the silliness. And he definitely felt more like, it is a little confusing, and maybe it was on purpose, but yeah, more like an ally at a lot of points, because you do want to like him, so you want him to be your ally, and then he does spend a certain part of the movie like keeping her captive, of course, but also keeping her safe
Yeah, he sees her
and
as a daughter. He's like little D.
Yeah, caring about her and caring for her
Mm-hmm.
and not really hurting her besides keeping her imprisoned. So it's sort of, it muddies the waters a little bit in terms of like, I want this villain to be a fucking villain. And if you're talking about Mad Max, the kind of storytelling that these movies have dealt in is very broad strokes. Like the characterizations aren't subtle, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that kind of movie, okay?
Yeah.
And I feel like with this character, there was too much subtle characterization in terms of why he was doing what he was doing. It's like, oh, like he lost his wife and child, so like he wants her as a daughter, or like, you know, it's like I don't need all of that characterization. Like it's at odds with what really these movies do well, I think.
Yeah, I was kind of iffy on the bear,
Little teddy bear.
the teddy bear. Yeah, because it is kind of like a funny sight gag, but also it was just like it felt a little shoehorned in. It's just like I don't know. I don't buy stuffed animals in the wasteland. Like I think they got rid of stuffed animals a long time ago.
You know what? I have a question. Like, are deserts having a moment?
Yes, they are.
Like with Dune?
And the Fallout TV series, that's been a
Are
big
deserts
hit.
having a moment?
Yeah, Sand for best actor.
Yeah.
Also, something else that I noticed it was really like kind of like fucking whoa was the guy who's like, what do they call him? The storyteller or the historian? The guy who's
History Man.
traveling with him. History man.
History Man rules.
He's pretty tight, but like he's dressed so much like Timothy Chalamet's mother in Dune.
Yeah.
Like absolutely like shrouded in robes in the desert, the tattoos across the face and everything.
Yeah.
I'm like,
he's fully tatted though.
She's tatted too, head to toe.
Yeah, I think that's a valid comparison though. Yeah.
But I think that also is something that sort of like made me feel some kind of way about this movie, the scale that you saw in Dune 2, another movie that takes place in the desert in like a weird like future time that's not ours, with like technology that doesn't exist and like people that don't really exist or whatever. Like the scale just felt gigantic. The world felt so huge. And this world just like I said before, it didn't feel quite as huge to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's technically bigger than Fury Road though, because it adds the bullet farm, which isn't in Fury Road.
And Gastown. I don't think they show Gastown in Fury Road. They just talk about it.
Yeah.
I think the comparison would be, like you said, it's smaller. And I did notice this. It's like we're seeing more, but everything looks small. It's like everything's zoomed out. It's very zoomed out. Literally, there's a lot of like zoomed out shots where you're just hearing the cars and motorcycles like very faintly in the background, and like you see the whole convoy from like a huge kind of bird's eye view perspective. And I liked that. I thought that I got a better sense of the world than of any other Mad Max film. I feel like where Fury Road is like an extreme close up of a chase scene in one day, this was a very wide shot of a whole life spanning story, which I liked. I mean, I liked that there was exposition in this. I liked that we found out, where Furiosa came from and how she got to where she is. I was happy with all that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Or I just like that it wasn't trying to be Fury Road. I mean, maybe the first time I saw it, I was disappointed that it wasn't trying to do more Fury Road stuff. I mean, there's definitely moments where it's tapping into that. But yeah, it's definitely finding its own rhythm, and it's much more of a slow burn kind of movie.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that, and it has more variety in terms of its action, I would say, than Fury Road, which I like that too.
Well, but lest I repeat myself, I wanted to share something with you guys. So, first time I saw it, Drew and I saw it on the Thursday, actually, before it was released on May 23rd, which is my birthday. And so that was the one and only thing I did for my birthday proper, was go and see Fury Road with Drew. And
I mean Furiosa.
Sorry. Damn it.
Damn it.
Oh, shit. Saw Furiosa, not Fury Road. Yeah. So on my birthday, went and saw Furiosa with Drew. And coming out of the theater, I wanted to get Drew's initial thoughts. So I have some sound here that we can play back. I haven't listened to this at all. So here we go.
Oh my gosh.
All right, Drew. We just got out of Furiosa. Tell us your thoughts.
What a ride, curtain drops, and we're in. I'm a Coco crazy war boy. Witness me. All the hits. Got all the war boys are back doing their thing, more subtle than ever. Everything is just kind of there. The world is just there to eat up. Num 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 num.
Yeah.
And yeah, just a great way to tell the story, and the chapters felt deserved. Like, the only time I've ever seen that done well is like Hateful Eight, when it's divided into chapters. It doesn't feel forced or anything. It just looks good. And yeah, it really is just an odyssey of Furiosa's whole, how she got to what she was, what she is, what she's trying to do. And Taylor-Joy, yeah, by the end of it, she like totally was like given like a perfect, like, I don't want to say impression, but it's so close to Charlize Theron that it's almost like it is like an impression. She does it perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the fucking, I mean, without spoiling too much, the goddamn Fly Boys, Coco Crazy Fly Boys, dude, that scene.
The Propeller Boys?
The Propeller Boys. The
Lawnmower Men?
The fucking wild as shit. Just, that scene is amazing. Her trying to get out, and her just trying to like plot her little escape in this fucking hell pit, and just, yeah, it gave you just a full feel of like what the people are like on the ground. Like, yeah, just the hierarchy of it, the silent like shit that's going on, the wars, how things were forged that way. So cool.
Yeah. Did you like it overall?
Yeah, I really liked it. I had a little trouble with the ending because it was kind of really drug out. I mean, it was so much in the beginning that you kind of wanted a big finale, a big like huge epic. I feel like that it kind of like almost,
it was epic.
It kind of tapered down towards the end. I felt like it was a little bit slower towards the end.
I like how they gave you the different scenarios of like, yeah, she could have killed him like this or that or the other thing, but you finally got the payoff of what she did with the seed. Because I was like, where is she gonna plant that thing? And I thought that was incredible.
I thought that was cool too. I just felt like that Chris Hemsworth's monologue just ran a little bit, and then he got knocked out, and then he got another monologue. And he woke up like, come on.
Yeah.
But he was great in it. Yeah, it was so cool just watching him flailing around trying to.
Let's party.
Yeah, especially like when they first find the Citadel and they raid it, just that whole exchange was really great. Yeah, dude, good time, good fucking time.
Yeah. I thought that my initial impression was that it was more patient, slow, zoomed out, but more beautiful, and like the big fight scenes that we loved from Fury Road, they were like peppered in like very elegantly.
Yeah. And
you felt like you earned them. And they were just as satisfying.
Some great headshot transitions all over the place too. Like going through that guy's head after he gets shot, and then like doing like a junior shot, like coming out the other end, like perfectly, like so quick. Yeah, it's kind of like understated, soft spoken.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Well, it's not as like frenetic, not as kinetic, not as like fast paced, like literally like the sped up cinematography. Like there was none of that. Mm-hmm. Everything was like kind of grounded and slow, and you felt more like immersed in the world and not like just like what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, especially like when they're in the middle of a fight scene and then some random guy flies off that you barely like. Such like a feast for the eyes, I've been saying. A feast for the eyes. But there'd be like a scene happen where a few people went down and then you'd see another guy like fly off and just like everybody feels so goddamn disposable.
Yeah.
And yeah, like in the beginning, like when like the first chase happens and her mom's coming after her, like how like one dude gets shot, homie jumps off, grabs the gas tank, like how quick it is that it's like it's such a salvage like you fall behind, you're gone, you know. Just everybody's so goddamn disposable. It's so cool. And it was, you know.
Well, that's kind of how they set it up at the Citadel when they were like, yeah, pick a guy out to fight, and then he just like suicide bombs them. Yeah. He's like, we can do this all day.
Well, like those, not even like the war boys, like the guy, like the guys who initially steal Furiosa, which like right off like the bat from the opening of the movie, like go time.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta love that about the Mad Max movies, the last two. Just like the pacing is just like fucking lightning speed when it wants to be. It's just like, hey, we're in it, let's go.
Yeah.
Like you're picking a peach 1 second, and then it's just like, bah!
Yeah.
Shoot through this fucking fuel line, cut this out, you're getting captured, you got a shotgun sniper, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But yeah, like from like one guy getting shot in the back of the pack, and then like two dudes on a bike, and one guy jumps off, rolls out, tries to get the bike, can't get it, gets shot. People grab the fuel tank, like they like, I thought you immobilized that car. I did, and she like swapped out the wheel like super damn quick, and it's just like, oh man, the fucking like the full wasteland evolution, you know, of like what people know how to do to keep going in the wasteland and make shit happen. It's just so fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
So quick, people being so adaptive. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was really epic. Well, the one thing that I was really surprised with was how I realized like halfway through, I'm like, oh, I'm fully on the War Boys side. Like you're on that team with them. Like the War Boys are no longer like these menacing like enemies. All of a sudden, like they're your guys.
Dude, that's like when he loses his crew, he's like sad about it, you know.
Yeah.
He's just like, God damn, I lost my entire crew. Like, it's a real drag.
Yeah.
Sorry, War Boys. I mean, I always feel bad for the War Boys. You gotta love the War Boys.
But I mean, in Fury Road, I mean, other than the one guy who like turns and is on Furiosa's side in Fury Road,
they're at the hands of cult of personality. Morton Joe is the asshole.
Yeah, but I was on his side too. I was like, he's like these are my guys now. Like I felt like fully invested on the other side, and it felt seamless too, because I was just like, I didn't even like realize until like 60% into the movie, I'm like, oh, I'm on their side. You know, like,
all right,
like you don't want them to die. You like, because that's Furiosa's side, you know, and
she's just trying to get out. She's trying to get to the
but she's like utilizing that team to get her revenge on.
So you'd rather see
Dementus.
You'd rather see Dementus guys get messed up than a war.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How about that one shot where it's from Dementus's point of view, and like the war rig is getting attacked, and you get to see one of the fights like from far away.
Right.
I thought that was so fucking dope. Also, the first fucking like. Oh man, the first like the second chase with the kite guys.
Yeah.
When they are just like throwing bombs, one war boy, and the one war boy gets burnt to shit, but he's still holding on to like the grapple, and he's like got an arm off, and he's he's like burning alive, and he's still holding it.
Yeah.
Like that's my guy. I want him on my basketball team. I like you. You got chutzpah. Just gets fucking spear bombed, and nobody cares. Yeah, I definitely want to like dissect, because it was so subtle that you're like, what am I even seeing right now? It was so seamless, and the movement is just wild. Not so not like, oh, he's got an arm off, just like, oh, slice, your arm's gone. You know, just whatever it was so blasé.
Does it make you want to
Go crazy, boy, witness me. Yes, I want to blow myself up in my body against a car.
Does it make you want to know more about cars and like mechanics?
No.
All right. Anything else to say?
I don't want to know nothing about no mechanics. No, yeah, I guess. Why not? I would like to know how to fix a car while it's driving at 90. Like, that would be sick. What would you say? Like, please drink my piss or rig or something?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize that the first time you see it, when the guy's hit with the Molotov and he's just burning against the rig and he's just pouring piss all over himself to stop the fire. Yeah, I would say piss fire boy. That's my sign off. That's my last thought. There's a man on fire and he was trying to put it out with his own piss. And I like that.
So piss fire boy, that's your final thought?
Goodbye.
Yeah, we got to it. We got to piss boy. I was waiting for it.
There was no piss in Fury Road, right?
No. I was like, when are we going to talk about piss boy? Amazing.
He was your MVP.
MVP.
Without it. Oh my
God.
I loved that part. That was the part where I'm like, yes, now this is giving me the weird, nasty shit that I want these movies to be giving me, where it's just like, this is fucking weird. The person who made this movie is fucking twisted. He's a twisted fucking dude. And I love feeling that in a movie where it's like, this was one guy's fucking thought and it just made its way onto the screen. I was really delighted at that gross detail.
Yeah.
The piss boy particular, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my Letterboxd review is fingers crossed that the next Mad Max Saga film delves into the backstory of Piss Boy. So Piss Boy was on the front of my mind as well.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, the specificity of Piss Boy and also the whole specificity of the war rig and that whole sequence in general is wonderful. And that is when the movie is just hitting its heights.
Yeah, that's like the only part of the movie that feels like just as good as Fury Road, if not better, as that one sequence. And Anya Taylor-Joy under the truck and like
doing her shit,
doing her dog man stuff, and the guys with the parachutes and the fans on the jetpack fans flying around, all that shit looked really good. And also like the little dolly like sliding thing on top of it that they used to get around.
The specificity is so good. And yeah, the weapon of like, are we going to use it yet? Are we going to use it yet? And it's like, no, not yet. Not yet. And then you finally do, and it's like, oh, I see how that works. Yo, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
What's it called? The Bali Auger? What is it?
Bommy knocker. Yeah.
Okay.
And I loved Cabbage Boy, little cabbage.
Yeah.
So many
Cabbage Patch Kid.
Yeah, he was
cabbages
great.
are a character in the movie. Just
were
he's
you
a
really
Cabbage Patch Kid.
It was pretty sad though to see him go down like that. I thought he was gonna stick around, but to see him dead and all the lettuce or cabbage it was tough to take.
Yeah, that was a bummer. But the way that they use the Bommy knocker is so cool, just in its design. But the way that they kill the Octoboss by grappling him and pulling him slowly into the Bommy knocker, he gets hit, and then his fucking squid parachute just is like spinning in the air. I was stunned at that moment.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how fucking cool that looked. Yeah.
The dark black of that parachute against the blue of the sky, and it's so bright, and it's just like, it's a visual you don't forget.
And then also the paraglider gets sent up and is burning like a fucking like burning flag on the war rig with these like tentacles being flown around. I was just like, that gave me as much satisfaction as I got in Fury Road, like that fight scene. And that was what I loved about this movie was it gives you satisfying moments that compare easily to Fury Road without being Fury Road. Like it is a much more sequential and thought out narrative. Not that his other films aren't thought out, but you're just kind of thrown into something with pretty much all of his films. Whereas Furiosa is like a very contained, methodical, chaptered story.
And I like the Octoboss.
Octoboss rules.
It's just hard for me to hit those heights and then to ratchet it back. It was just a little hard for me, because it's like, you can do it, give me more. Also, something that was, we talk about cabbages being a character in the movie. Also, like, for me, like, wiggatry was like a character in the movie. Like
Wiggatry.
Like wigs, like the presence of wigs.
Bigotry. I love it.
Because as a little girl, she makes that little wig.
Yeah. That was cool.
Remember that?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And
then her head.
But also, like, can we just, it's a little, that part, I'm not squeamish, and I know these movies are like, they have some brutal stuff, but that felt like kind of like brutal and too real of a way that Rictus is going to rape that child.
Yeah.
That was a little bit like, that wasn't the fun kind of like depravity of like, I have a ton of like, these wives, and they're like super sexy women, and I keep them locked away in their little like love grotto or whatever. Like, that was like, that took it to a place where I'm like, well, this isn't fun.
No,
but it doesn't get very far along. I don't know. I didn't really.
Yeah,
no, of course not.
There also is like an argument that he just wanted to play with the little bells in her hair. Like, because he's like, I mean, obviously it's implied what he's gonna do, but also he has the mind of a child, and he kind of reminds me of Astaroth from Soul Calibur.
Yeah, he's got that bald, strong energy.
Yeah, but when he brings her into the room, like, he just sits her down and he's like, "Let me jingle those bells." Literally. Not in like, literally there's bells in her hair that he wants to just like hear the jingle jangle of.
But she made a little wig.
Yeah. And I love how it gets caught in the tree, and then they do that time lapse of the tree being caught up in the wig, which is a good foreshadow to the way that time will pass at the end of the movie too, with
the growing of a tree.
The dick tree.
Yeah, it sprouts out of his dick.
Drew addresses that a little bit in his review, but that was a really super fun, weird, gross decision that I liked.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. The stuff it's just got to be gross in a surprising way.
Yeah.
And he's good at that.
Yeah, and I like that.
Maybe because he was like a doctor, that he has like these like weird ideas about like the human body and like what it can do and how it can break and weird shit, like body things that sort of make you feel weird. Like, she cuts off her own arm in a way where you're like, fuck, dude, Jesus. And then also the part where her mother is getting crucified or whatever, just speaking of like horrible body things, you're just not sure what he's doing to her. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really see it very clearly, but he's just sort of like doing something around her midsection for a long time, and you're like, what is going on with her right now?
Yeah. And
that part really like made me feel unsettled in a way that was good, of like, this is some messed up something that he's doing to her. He's not just like stringing her up, like he's doing something to her body that's mutilating it in a crazy way right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of pretty harsh body mutilation. They quarter that guy with motorcycles. And then they like drag what's his name? Criterion Collection Jack or whatever.
Praetorian.
Praetorian Jack.
Yeah.
You guys have seen this movie twice.
I call him Criterion Jack.
Yeah. They don't even show him die though. He just gets dragged and they don't even, it's like that's the end of him.
Yeah.
Felt like a little unceremonious way to take care of his character, but
dogs are just like nipping at his heels.
But like that, the unceremonious nature of it, that's very important and part of what I really like about these movies. And part of what Drew was saying, like the disposability of everybody, like your body and your life, everything is so disposable, and it's sort of like showcased in a cool way when they talk about people being like a half life or a full life or whatever. It's just sort of like you're accorded these designations and one gives you like more protection, like she's a full life,
like that the mutant baby. There's that mutant baby that's born and they're just like throw it away.
Nasty. That part was super gross. But also something that really, you know, again, talking about the war boy who's willing to just throw himself off the highest cliff just because he doesn't value his own life and nobody else values his life either. Like, so it was my feeling watching this movie. Tell me if you guys felt this way. Do you feel like there was more like gun stuff in this movie than in Fury Road?
Yeah.
Well, a lot more sniper stuff.
Yeah.
And in the battle on the war rig, that's like super awesome. Like there's a lot of shooting. Like she shoots a ton of people. Praetorian Jack is shooting a ton of people. There's a lot of like shooting as a way of killing someone that was like wasn't really turning me on in the same way that like when people die in ways that are totally accidental and incidental, you know, like just falling under the wheels of a war rig or like being lit on fire or something like that. I'm like, that is what this world is about.
Well, there was a lot of flamethrowers too. There was a lot of flamethrowers.
Yeah, the stick
I just
bombs.
felt like there was more guns and shooting.
Yeah. I liked the utilization of just like the crane on the war rig, just like grabbing people out of the air and stuff and grabbing cars. And I like that he did kind of expand a little bit of like the toys that are on the war rig. You know, there was a few more little additions. And
there's so many elements to that. It's just like every shot is super exciting. A new element is being shown.
And I thought that I think you mentioned it, Zach, like the pole that kind of takes them from one side of the war rig to the other. I felt like, is this like a proto pole boy? Like they were like, we can advance this technology and just have war boys just hanging off of
bendy poles.
Yeah, bendy poles, which like what are they called? Polecats in Fury Road. I felt like, it's like, you're kind of seeing how they're gonna evolve this technology to the polecats.
That stuff is just so cool, just unexpected little things. And there was so much of that in Fury Road. I don't want to be like the comparison girl, but like, remember when you first saw the Doof Warrior?
Hell yeah.
And like that made me want to explode the first time I saw that. It made me want to jump.
Wait, can you describe the Doof Warrior?
He's the guy playing the guitar at the front of the war party.
He's the guitar guy.
Like strapped. Like when I saw that, I felt like I was gonna blast through the roof of the theater. I'm like, I can't believe this. I would have never expected it in a million years, but it's perfect. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And when this movie is doing stuff, you know, that is just unexpected, that's when it's at its best. And I really don't feel like any of the stuff where she is a child, like I don't get any of the surprise. I don't get any of the revelation of the world at all, of exploring this world. For me, I wasn't getting that.
There's actually a really funny Doof Warrior story Because that guitar is functional. It's actually a guitar like that they built and you can play, and it actually does blow fire. And
baby, so good.
So when they were filming those scenes, the Doof Warrior is like playing it, but it just sounds like practically it was only like bing bong ding down bing bing bing.
Yeah, of course.
Like it's not like like heavy metal in Fury Road, but apparently when George Miller was showing the first cuts of Fury Road, he hadn't added the soundtrack in yet. So when people were seeing the shots of the Doof Warrior, like they were just hearing like blink plonk ting bling 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 like and everyone was like, movie's great, but like what the hell was going on with that guitar guy? You have to get rid of the guitar guy. And George Miller was like, hell no, we're keeping the guitar guy. Like it'll sound great in the end, just trust me. But like there was a ton of pressure apparently to get rid of the Doof Warrior, which would have been like a tragedy upon tragedies.
Yeah. I tell you from the bottom of my soul, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen in a movie. I wish I could have had a brain scan in that moment. It would have been like 4th of July, like fireworks. Like, how dare you? Like, how dare you do this to me right now? Yeah. You're reducing me to just like an animal right now. Just like, I'm so overstimulated right now. My God. Yeah. There's nothing better. There's nothing better than that. You got to watch it again and again. Also, like, it does need to be said, like, if she is trying to pass herself off as a boy, why does she have that long ass hair that could be truly revealed at any moment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a problem.
Guys, what gives?
I mean, she did shave her head at one point.
And she's wrapping it up.
But then the thing that is stupid, and speaking of wiggetry, and you guys probably didn't notice this, but I did, which is when she cuts all of her hair off, that is a wig. Like, she has her long hair still, and the way it looked, it like stood too far away from her head and came down too far in the back. I'm like, that's not how it looks when you buzzed your hair off or cut it all off. And I was mad distracted the whole time.
As someone with short hair.
And as someone who has had no hair, like hair totally like buzzed to nothing, like seeing that, I was like, it's a crazy decision to have a wig that is a buzz cut.
Yeah.
And I could see it because the first moment you see it, it's a shot from behind and it's not her. It's someone who actually does have a buzz cut. Anyway, that was something that I'm like, I don't dig this. I don't know. There's the wiggetry of it all bugs me at certain points.
Let's dive deeper into the wiggetry. What else did you notice?
Well, there's also the dude, golly, I don't remember his name, but he was sort of
Featherman with that one eye.
Yeah, who had like multiple like scalps and wigs like stacked on top of each other. Did you guys think he was cool? I don't think he was cool.
I
like he's pretty prominently featured.
Yeah, he had a big Pirates of the Caribbean vibe. I don't know. I was thinking a lot about Pirates of the Caribbean with Jack Sparrow and Dementus, and that guy felt like he was in Pirates of the Caribbean too.
Yeah,
he was not.
I feel like
he was not my favorite character, but he was fine.
He should have been so fun. Like the person in that role, it should have been such a blast. And that guy he was not giving me anything. He wasn't giving me anything, you guys. Also, what did you think of Scrotus? He's a new character.
I have thoughts on
Rictus.
Scrotus.
Was in the previous film. Scrotus, not in it. He's in this one. What do we think?
So when I was watching Fury Road, like literally right before going in, I was like, all the war boys remind me of Mikey Day
from SNL.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in comes Scrotus, who looks exactly like Mikey Day's butthead.
Yeah.
Like it's the same fucking look. And I was like,
same
what is
prosthetic
going on?
Yeah, that was that was a very recent sketch, the Beavis and Butthead sketch with him and Ryan Gosling as Beavis and Butthead. He's got that like Neanderthal kind of brow.
Yeah, just the real heavy brow.
And his like lip is upturned like a little bit.
So are you saying you like this, Austin, or how did you feel about this?
Yeah, what do we I want to know what you thought about Scrotus as a dude.
Scrotus was
As a
funny.
man.
He also reminded me of like a Don Jr. or something. Like he had heavy Don
Totally.
Jr. vibes, and just big laugh in the theater both times I saw it when they're like, Scrotus, come over here or whatever. It's just great name.
Yeah, I thought Scrotus was pretty good. I got no issues with Scrotus. There was no character that bothered me the way Nux did in Fury Road, like I was saying. And I really did like Praetorian Jack. I thought he was great character.
Yeah.
I could have been happy to see more of him. And I love the people eater, the guy who's always fondling his nipples, and he's got like the little gas mask on his crotch
and his nose.
Yeah.
He's a great character.
Yeah, he's cool.
I'm
into that guy.
He's in Fury Road as well,
Very
right?
Cool.
Yeah.
Praetorian Jack, I agree. He was pretty cool dude. He was pretty tight. Like, do you think that there was like a romantic element? Do you feel like there was a romantic energy between the two of them? Do you think it stayed totally platonic? Do you think there was more going on off screen that we don't see? What was your takeaway from their interaction?
Well, they bumped heads.
They did bump heads, yeah.
They bumped heads,
but she also does that with her mother.
Yeah,
a sign of affection.
I'm feeling like it was a little bit horny.
Oh, totally. It's about as close as you can get.
And they had all these plans to go to the green place together. Like it's me and you. So I feel like they were boning off screen.
I hope so.
I really
hope so, man. They don't have much, you know. Like it would be a real like waste of an opportunity if they
cute couple too.
Totally cute.
He doesn't look like a mutant.
And she doesn't either.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I felt like maybe they should have had maybe more of a moment to reflect on his death, just because that would have given you like some extra revenge energy for Furiosa. Because he's like, man, like, I really like this guy, and like now he's like all mangled up and dead, and like now I really want to kill Dementus extra more. I felt like a little missed opportunity to like make you hate Dementus a little more, maybe get you geared up for that final showdown.
I think it still does add on to the pile of reasons why she wants to kill him.
But it didn't even register the first time I saw it. Like I didn't even register that he died. I just like kind of forgot. Like, oh yeah, I guess he just kind of got dragged around for a bit. I thought he would come back or something. I don't know.
I don't really think that adds to her. I feel like she's at an 11 with her vengeance vibe already. You know what I mean? Like, so
well, most of the movies she's like wanting to go home. It's like she's not even thinking about revenge. She's she's drawing the stars. She's like she wants to get home.
Okay.
That's kind of how I was feeling. It doesn't feel like a revenge movie until she comes across Dementus again. And it's like, oh yeah, this guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like Criterion Jack is probably the most sane character in the whole franchise. He seems very cool, calm, collected, smart, handsome.
Dreamboat.
Say the same about Octoboss, though. I love Octoboss.
But look at him. He's fucking Octoboss.
Look at him. I mean, what do you guys think of Anya Taylor-Joy? Like, what do you think of her maybe as an actress in general? What do you think about her? Do you dig her? Have you seen her in a lot of stuff? Or
yeah, I like her. I loved her in The Northman. She was great in that, and also in the Vivitch, those two Egger movies. She really pops in those. But and yeah, I liked her in Furiosa as well. You know, she's not getting to say much, very little dialogue, but she communicates a lot with her big wide set eyes and
her insane eyes.
yeah, so I thought she was a good fit for the character. But yeah, there's that thing of like it feels kind of like the Barbie problem where like Ken's getting all the attention in the Barbie movie, and like Dementus like kind of steals the show in the Furiosa movie. But I guess that's just kind of how it's written. But I feel like she did about as good as she could have done with it. And yeah, like Drew was saying, she does do a good Charlize Theron voice approximation.
So good.
I was
I was
impressed by
super
that.
impressed.
One movie that I felt her limitations was The Menu. Have you seen The
Yes.
Menu? Like, yeah, she's like trying to be like a normal person in that movie, and it's just like this does not feel believable. She
You're
should you
not
should be
normal.
yeah, you were like an alien person. Like,
Yeah, her appearance is just so arresting that it's almost impossible for it to not sort of take you to another place. And I think her beauty specifically is very delicate. Like she looks like a doll, like a
Yes.
little China doll. And casting her as this character really was like you're kind of hamstringing this whole process for me, because when I look at her, I don't see any hint of like a badass. Like she's so thin, her features are so delicate, she's so pretty that I'm like, you gotta act your ass off to convince me that you are an ass kicker. Sorry to say ass so many times, but you're not that good of an actor, babe. You're not a good enough actor for me to not just see you as like a little China doll with like some dirt on your face. I'm not quite buying this specific.
yeah,
I
and it's
wasn't
tough
buying
when
her as being a fucking tough cookie. She doesn't
and
seem like a tough cookie.
yeah, and Charlize Theron does such a good job of being a tough cookie in Fury Road, and she's also
Yeah.
just got a very different silhouette or build
Mm-hmm.
than Anya Taylor. She's significantly taller and just feels stronger. And so yeah, very different physical presences.
Yeah. Charlize Theron, yeah, her body really is like, it sells that she can handle this shit. Whereas
Yeah.
Anya Taylor-Joy behind like the wheel of like this giant war rig or whatever, you're like, you just feel like you're playing right now. There's a little bit of playing.
I did like how Anya did in this movie. I think that it's perfect for a movie she is perfect for a movie where she doesn't say much, because I feel like that's where she shines as an actress, is being like a doll, like you were saying. And I think this is a great role for like a person who doesn't need to speak much to convey like her emotions. And I thought that she sold the like I'm a master mechanic thing pretty well.
I was buying, not to interrupt, but I was buying her as like a little like spider monkeying all through like the war rig, and when she needs to sort of like jump onto that crane that's sort of like broken and about to fall in there, like before the real story kicks off, and it sort of is showing that like when she's still acting as a boy or whatever, like I do buy her as like, wow, she's like smaller and like crafty and like actually have a much higher intelligence level than these people, because she has a full life. Like she was born a healthy, like full person, whereas all the other people who are here are these weird, like diseased individuals. And it's like, I do think that that part of it is cool. It's like she's a different type of being. Like she doesn't really blend in actually, because she's not like these people. She has more life, vitality, and intelligence. And I thought that was sort of a fun part of it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mad Max, though, what do you think of the shot of Mad Max that they insert into this, of him like standing on the ridge and like looking down on what's going on? Like, what? I was like, I couldn't make heads or tails of why that was in there, dude.
It's like a little obvious Easter egg.
What was going on there? What?
They just wanted to nod that Mad Max exists in this. He was around.
But of course he was. That was a really good confounding inclusion.
I thought it was kind of cute.
Well, but there's also the line or the understanding in Fury Road that Furiosa was one of Immortan Joe's wives at one point, but she couldn't have children, right? So that's how she kind of got like kicked to being a driver of the war rig of like, you're useless to me as one of these wives. You can't give me a son. And that's sort of like where I feel like, to me, all of her, sympathy for the wives comes from, and also of course her, where she comes from, the green place of many mothers that you see at the beginning of the movie or whatever. But that's a really important part of Furiosa's backstory, as I understood it in Fury Road, and really important in terms of her interactions with Immortan Joe and sort of her position in the whole society. And I'm like, that was just like excised from this movie. That's not a part of her backstory anymore. And I'm like, what's going on? What gives? What? I don't know. I really liked that as a part of her backstory, and that wasn't brought into this movie.
Yeah, I mean, she's sold as like gonna be one of his brides, but she just escapes like pretty much immediately.
Yeah, and disguises herself as a boy, and then conceivably is just, the driver of his war rigs until she kidnaps his wives, and then Fury Road happens.
At the end of the day, it feels like Furiosa, it doesn't feel like you really needed this backstory, but I just love seeing more of the world and more characters, and so I was happy. It's just,
I mean,
it's
what
fun.
would you consider, if anything, like what prequel can you even think of that you could consider necessary, though, right? Like, there's no such thing. You know what I mean? There's just ones that are fun and interesting, and ones that aren't really very fun and interesting. Like, there's no such thing as a necessary prequel. Like that's an impossibility.
I like Star Wars Rogue One. I like Solo, a Star Wars story. People cite Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me as a good prequel. They're not ever really necessary, I suppose.
The point of a prequel to me, I mean, that's just not really a complaint that I would ever level against a prequel. Like, well, it doesn't need to exist, and so it shouldn't. It's like, well, no movie needs to exist at all. And of course, no prequel needs to exist. So it's sort of like when people say that it was unnecessary or whatever, I'm like, that's neither here nor there. And that's absolutely not my complaint with the movie. Like, she's a super cool character that there's obviously a ton of backstory for it, and you would like to see it, and you would like to know it. And that's all I need. You know what I mean? To say that this prequel was a good idea.
But yeah, she doesn't have much of a character arc, because she like starts out as a badass and she just remains a badass because she's like being cool as a kid and rebellious. Like, there's not much of a story arc here.
I mean, for my money, I feel like we would not understand the Sopranos world without Many Saints of Newark. So that's a pretty necessary movie, I'm going to say. We need those two Leotas.
I mean, the whole time I watched The Sopranos from all those years, I was like, I'm not getting this.
What's Christopher's dad up to, though?
I was confused the whole time I watched the series. I was confused the whole time.
It's like, did Tony ever listen to jazz, or I don't know.
Maybe he did have the makings of a varsity player, and I don't know. I want to see him play sports.
No, he didn't, Zach. He didn't have the makings of a varsity athlete. He never did.
I will say my dad did not like this movie, but he cited the beginning as his favorite part, like the nighttime kind of motorcycle business, with like what Drew was saying, with like how they're changing out the gas tanks and removing tires and putting on tires. Like, that was my dad's.
She was a boss bitch.
That was my dad's favorite. Yeah, Furiosa's mom's a boss bitch. My dad cited that as like, that's when I was like enjoying the movie the most, was at the very beginning. But yeah, he's like, this movie's too long. That was my dad's big complaint.
He also never stays awake. He can't stay awake, so he was just getting progressively more tired. So, like, of course,
did he notice him sleeping?
Part that he liked.
You were in the middle.
No, he wasn't sleeping, but he was. He can't hold his attention for long enough.
It's also motorcycles, which your dad knows a thing or two about. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, I like the focus on
mm-hmm.
motorcycles in this. That yeah, Dementus's crew is a motorcycle gang. I like all that, and also the chariot he drives is awesome,
hell yeah.
and his parachute cape. Parachute
Parachute
cape.
Rules.
cape,
That's great.
very
Great
important.
costuming.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I felt like they're like, how do we feel about their, if we're wrapping things up, let's talk about like the end, their final confrontation when she's like, all right, now I fucking got you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a scene that's not like anything else in any of these movies,
Yeah.
really.
One on one, mano y
One on
mano.
one and very emotional,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what did we
Well,
like it?
apparently, George Miller wrote that whole dialogue sequence way before he even wrote Fury Road. So this Furiosa saga was like in George Miller's head for decades.
Yeah, yeah. I heard he had like the whole script of Furiosa around the same time as Fury Road, or maybe before Fury Road.
Yeah. And so I guess when people were auditioning for Fury Road because there's so little dialogue, they used that dialogue sequence to audition with. And so I think it's obviously an essential explanation of George Miller's like inner thoughts of this wasteland, like the idea of that there's no hope and that basically like you're never gonna amount to anything in this world because it's the apocalypse. So I think that whole line of do you have it in you to make it epic is basically like what you do in Mad Max world. You just be cool and die.
Yeah,
Like
be a
it's just,
cool character, have a cool name.
yeah, like literally.
I feel like it was a really deliberate choice to sort of in that interaction, like reduce her back to being that child again of just like so angry, so tearful, and just like, when she's screaming, like, give it back, and just really like
Yeah, yeah.
hamming it up. I was like, my eyes were rolling mad hard in that moment. I'm like, this is not working for me. It was a little too hammy, a
Yeah.
little too emotional. I would have
Too
liked
hammy on both of Chris Hemsworth's part and Anya Taylor-Joy's
no,
part, or mostly Anya part.
but he's been hammy the whole time. She
Yeah.
hasn't. You know what I mean? To me, that's not her character. And I understand this is her just like completely like unraveling or whatever and allowing herself to just like, come apart. But for me, it wasn't really very cool and badass. And I just
Yeah.
want her to be cool and badass.
I do love that all the stuff with the car, that car that she's driving is super cool, and like just the whole bit of like him like walking forward and like her car like reversing a little bit. Like
Mm-hmm.
that whole like little play with the car was super good. And I
Mm-hmm.
also love her like pulling the rope on her motorized arm that's like a little
Yeah,
lawnmower, and then like
that was tight.
like that's a
Yeah, I
really
want
great bit just when she revs up that arm.
Yeah, fucked
Mm-hmm.
up body modification, disfigurement stuff that's so central to like this whole society is like your body is just like there's going to be weird stuff wrong with it and you just got
Mm-hmm.
to keep going and make yourself like scarier hopefully in the
Yeah.
process and that's so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the bit when like her arm actually gets injured and like she just like pulls it in and then she's just like kind of like looking at it and she's like, I'm not mad or I'm not in pain. Like she doesn't like she just like does like one like little shout of pain, but like just like it's kind of I don't know.
That
I
was
thought
shocking. Just the way that's just like
When her arm gets pinned.
yeah. That
Oh,
was
oh
that was rough.
one thing I was feeling is that there's some CGI shots going on in this movie that were kind of a turn off for me. Which we haven't talked about at all, but
I want to talk about this.
just because Fury Road, it does like that movie feels so tactile and so real. Like obviously there is some CGI going on in that movie, but like you never really
oh
clock
yeah.
it. But I feel like I was clocking it a lot in this movie, and sometimes it just like felt like pretty janky and that was disappointing. Like, I guess when I really noticed it was when Dementus goes to the Citadel, and it's like there's like that little like scuffle after Warrior Boy like does the suicide thing.
Yeah, and they're trying to scoop up the motorcycles with
Yeah,
the hooks and chains and stuff.
yeah, that shit just felt like real bad CGI. Just felt it didn't feel like the physics felt right, and it's just like it just like looked bad to me. And there's like some wide shots where it's like this doesn't feel real. This feels like this was like made just and like a lot of green screen kind of stuff, and it was just a little disappointing for comparing it to Fury Road, which felt like so real and like everything felt like they were actually doing everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm like CGI blind or something, but both times I saw it, I never was taken out by a CGI moment. At no point was I like, that's fake, that's not fake. I don't know. I know it's a big complaint about this movie. I've been hearing a lot of people complain about the CGI, but truly I wasn't taken out for a minute by any CGI.
That didn't bother me either. I mean, I have also seen that as a complaint. That didn't really hit me in the wrong way, but it really is, I think, a thing of like you as a viewer, you're just tuned into different things based on who you are. Like me with like the wigs, with wigs and costuming, I'm like really hyper aware of when they seem cheap or fake or like not quite the right match for like the actor. I'm really tuned into that kind of thing and very much not tuned into CGI type stuff. But yeah, I also wasn't bumped by that the way I was about some of the uh, physical like hair, makeup, costuming choices.
Just felt wonky, and the physics didn't feel as good as Fury Road. And yeah, also just like that the end credits is interspliced with footage from Fury Road. So you're getting reminded of like how good that movie was, and maybe that was kind of maybe that was a bad decision. I don't know how you guys felt about that.
That was my biggest complaint in the whole thing. Like, I was like, yes, 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 five
Yeah.
stars. I love this movie. And then they cut to fucking that clip show of Fury Road. And I was like, what are you doing? It's like, you fucking blew it. I was like, you blew it, man. Like,
You didn't stick the landing.
I was like, we know where this is going, man. Like, you don't.
It
Yeah.
almost feels apologetic.
Mm-hmm. Anything else, Zach?
Um, I like when she puts the peach pit in her mouth like a little hamster. Whenever she does that,
to to keep it
I was like,
moist.
that's always cool when she pulls it out of her hair, puts it in her mouth, got a big cheek, full of peach pit. That was always good. Never got sick of that. And yeah, like you were saying, I did like how like the ending of like, oh, like some say like she shot him in the back of the head, some say she dragged him, so and then yeah, they showed the tree shot, and yeah, I like that like kind of vagueness of like how she actually did deal with him, and gets more into that idea of like mythology and stuff, which George Miller likes to play with, and the fable of Furiosa. So yeah, I did like that as like kind of like an ending thing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I'll just say, I went in this movie not expecting Fury Road. I didn't want Fury Road. I wanted a new movie. I wasn't like, I feel like if we had a movie that was structured the same way as Fury Road, that would get as much of a complaint as, people are complaining about it being different from Fury Road, because how can you live up to another 2 hours of just pedal to the metal craziness that Fury Road is? It's like, why not step back, tell a full story of a character? I don't think a copy of Fury Road would have worked. And we do get the satisfaction of some Fury Road-esque scenes. So it's like it scratches that itch and then also gives you a little bit more backstory. I don't know. I thought it did really good balancing the fan service to like making a new original story.
Yeah, I did enjoy the pacing of it and the chapter sections. Each there's no bad scene in this movie. I didn't feel like there was any scene that dragged really. I felt like I was in it the whole time, but I will say I thought those dogs, that was some bad CGI in those dogs. I got pulled
Wait,
out.
the dogs were CGI?
Well, there's definitely some parts where those dogs look pretty fake to me, I thought.
Yeah.
Right. See,
Not all the time, but
I did not notice it.
I mean, I think animal rights are different with like filming, and like you like can't use like animals in action sequences like you used to. So I feel like you kind of have to do CGI stuff, but it pulled me out a bit with the CGI dogs and the bullet farm section.
You'll never
But
top the Road Warrior dog. The Road Warrior dog rules.
Oh no. The little Aussie Shepherd.
Yeah, when he's holding that bone in his mouth with the gun like attached to the gun
Oh,
trigger. So
yeah.
awesome.
this one, Dementus line I like is when they're talking about the taste of sad tears, and he's like talking about it's like piquant, zesty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Dementus's
Yeah.
diction, and I like that he likes to learn stuff. He's hanging out with History Man. I like
Yeah.
like History Man's like teaching him about like this engine when they first like shows like they give him the lore on like how this engine. I thought that was really fun. That's what you come to see, and it delivers.
Yeah. My other complaint was just how they glossed over the wars.
The 40 Days War.
Yeah, everything's like leading up to this like giant battle. And then it's just like, and so it went with the oil wars and the water wars. And it's like, all right. I mean, like, I would have liked to seen that, but I guess we're going to just gloss over it all.
That'll be another movie, maybe.
Yeah, and it's also weird how like she gets like the car that only has three wheels, and then she just like trades it for another car like 2 minutes later. It's like, what was the point of her having the three-wheeled car? I was like, you could have just deleted that. She could have just got the cool car right away. That was a little weird.
Yeah,
but
I hear you.
It's a pretty minor gripe, but I was like, what?
Yeah. What about you, Jazz? What are your final things we haven't talked about?
I mean, nothing that we haven't talked about. You know, I need my villains to be, or I want my Mad Max villains to feel untouchable and insane and unknowable and less human than this villain is. And that's a little bit of a gripe. I love the world. I love the weirdness. I love the body modification, horror, fuck it upness.
Piss and maggots.
Yeah, ew. So gross. I love cars driving fast. I love people who are crafty. I like that, you know.
Oh, Dementus is crafty when he paints up his guys as war boys with the like the
yeah,
little
I love all that
fan.
kind of stuff. I like the craftiness. I like doing a lot with a little. That's always really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, not having a lot of resources and finding a way to like do cool ass shit with like, you know, like her mom does, like sort of upgrading her motorcycle as she goes and stuff like that. The movie works for me on quite a lot of levels, but there's just the things that I don't like about it are just too much for me to overlook to say that I liked the movie. Sorry.
Do you feel like you like it a little bit more talking about it, or about the same?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't. But what I will say is, you know, Austin, you had a really negative reaction to ending with all the footage from Fury Road. For me, I was leaving happy because I was seeing sequences from a movie that got me so hype and was so cool and was so amazing. I was sent out of the movie theater on the right foot seeing that. So we're a little different in that way.
Yeah, I could see both sides of it.
I mean, it was a stupid decision, but I just mean because I didn't really dig the movie. It took me to a place of liking it a little bit better.
Well, do you give it like 2.5 out of 5?
Yeah, no, I would give it a 2.5. The stuff that's good is really, really, really good, but I don't like our lead. I don't like the half of the movie as a kid. And what are you going to do if half of the movie is just like, I kind of want it thrown in the trash? Like, what am I supposed to do with that? I can't say I like the movie.
But yeah, I'm just having so much fun with Dementus at the beginning that I don't care that she's a kid.
I mean, you're not bothered by movies with kids anyway.
Sometimes I
You
am,
think
but
movies
yeah.
with kids are okay?
Yeah, I mean, I love Moonrise Kingdom. You know, that's a kid movie.
I do like Home Alone.
All right, there you go. There you go.
What about the Phantom Menace? You get young Anakin.
Don't get me started. I will say the box office seems to agree with me. The box office on this has been abysmal, which is surprising.
Yeah, we didn't talk about how this movie bombed Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah. I mean, that seems to be the takeaway. Like, I don't know if that's going to be the cultural imprint of this movie, was that it was a huge box office bomb.
Yeah, I'm seeing right now on the top stories, Garfield beats Furiosa on another bummer weekend. Garfield.
Who would see a Garfield movie, you guys?
I almost saw it.
Who does Garfield's voice in this? Oh.
Chris Pratt, of course.
No, really?
Pratt as Garfield.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no. Give me a Helmsworth over a Pratt. He's a number one. He's a number one Chris for me.
Yeah, true that.
Did you hear that George Miller wants to make another Mad Max movie called The Wasteland? You heard about that?
Give it to
happen?
Me. Let's keep it coming.
I think it might be another prequel though, or another prequel to Fury Road.
Another prequel.
We got to find out what happened to Scrotus.
Yeah, because Scrotus didn't make it to Fury Road.
Yeah,
something happened there. or History Man.
Yeah, we need to know what happened to History Man, Scrotus. That's pretty much all I care about now. Well,
thank you guys for talking with me about this movie.
Yeah,
I love talking with you.
We love having you on the podcast.
You're an all-timer.
Always for the new movies. Would you ever do an old movie?
Yeah. Isn't that interesting that I only do the new releases?
That's okay.
Well, you never say you have like a favorite movie. You just
I don't know. Yeah, it's just too personal to talk about like my all-time like favorite movies of all time. It's just too personal.
But apparently Fury Road is one of your all-time favorites. So
yeah.
So
it absolutely
we're
is.
killing two birds with one car.
I might come on and talk about Heat. I would come on and do an episode about Heat. It would be 17 hours long.
Nice.
I think about Heat all the time.
We'll put on the spreadsheet.
Thanks, Jazz, for joining us.
And we want to thank our listeners for listening to this episode of the podcast. And you can always follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Film with Family.
And if you'd like to tell us about your favorite car, you can email us at furiosa.com at filmwithfuriosa@gmail.com. No.
Furiosa.piss.pissboy.com.
.piss.boy. Film with Family podcast at gmail.com.
And you can always subscribe to our Patreon, where we're starting.
Yes.
For $1.99, you can get a bonus episode every month. We're starting a new series on animals, where we might be talking about another George Miller film at some point.
Yes,
if you
Guess
stay
which
tuned.
One?
Guess which involves an animal. It's either a pig or a penguin.
It's either a pig or a penguin with him.
You find out. Which one?
Yeah, I think the episode we're doing this month is going to be Homeward Bound, comboed with Milo and Otis.
Yeah, it's a creature double feature. And we love the movies.
And we love our family. Also, catch us in 2 weeks when we're going to do a mid-year movie wrap-up, where we talk about our favorites and our duds of 2024 in movie seeing.
Will Garfield be on the list?
I'm going to hope to see it in the next couple weeks. All right. Thanks, Jazz. May the stars be with you.
Witness me. Witness me.
And can you make it epic?
Yeah,
I think we did.
Back.
We did.
I want my podcast back.
Give it back.
Give it back.
All right.
Goodbye.